Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 17th of April. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give an overview that we can all collectively relate to. Of course, this week sees an enormous event with the solar eclipse, the first of the year, right on the last degree, which is a critical degree in astrology, 29 degrees Aries, the anaretic point, but squaring up with the mighty but tiny Pluto. What does that mean? We also have Mercury slamming on the brakes the next day on Friday through to the middle of May in the sector of everyday money. But actually Mercury forges a very constructive link this week with the feisty Mars, so I need to share that with you. But if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for joining me once more. If you're new to my channel, it's great to have you with us. I'd be honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. So let's just explore what we start this week. We have the Sun and we also have Jupiter and Chiron in the sign of Aries. And if you recall, right at the start of Aries season, we had a new moon. So what makes this week really notable is the second new moon in the sign of Aries in a month. So really rare. And Aries energy is about freshness. It's about initiation, drive. It's the start zodiac sign. And it's where we really get things going. It's that germination energy. But sometimes that means, a bit like the Fool card, we have to take a step into the unknown. But the other way that we can use Aries energy is to inject greater drive and fire, because of the fire nature of this sign, into ongoing plans. So it doesn't have to be a start plan. But because the Sun moves on Thursday, immediately after the eclipse, into the sign of Taurus, joining up with, of course, Mercury, the North Node and Uranus, I feel that whatever ideas we're germinating this week, they need to in some ways be ones that can then pretty immediately become more tangible. So it's not just about the thrust, it is about what we can actually manifest into something more tangible and lasting. Where does Pluto fit into this? Well, I feel that there could be some pain with the gain, because when the Sun and Pluto are squaring as they are this week within 3 degrees, we can get some growing pains. We could resist some change that we need to make, cling on to what we think is important to us, but somehow or another events can seem to have an impact on us which doesn't necessarily make it feel like we're in control, because Pluto is a lot about control. So just be conscious of that. There are some complexities there. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast and understand what more serious astrology can do for you personally, if you give me 3 pieces of your birth data of time, date and place of birth, or if you only have your date and place, I can produce for you either my natal life roadmap report, which will help you to get a much more intimate understanding of the patterns that have played out in your life, but also work with them more closely future forwards. But both analyses, the second is based on the Sun as the ascendant, but both these analyses can be complemented with 30% off with my 12-month personal forecast. Again, totally unique to you, and these can give you searing insights into when you make your moves. If you're someone who's really into YouTube videos, the solar package will work really well for you. If you have some sense of your ascendant and more serious astrology, stick to the standard package. But please see the link below for more. So Leo, your week commencing the 17th of April forecast. I feel there's been a real sense of freshness around you over the last month. You've probably experimented in some ways, booked some travel, thought very much about higher education, tried to download knowledge in all sorts of ways, perhaps had debates about philosophies in a way you may have not done in the past. Perhaps there's been something around a contractual matter that you've been grappling with. And of course, with Jupiter and the Sun coming into that very important conjunction last week, when they were in Cazimi, gave you the opportunity to really punch through that sense over the last few years of having to really be mindful of your obligations first and foremost. Now, of course, Pluto's moved temporarily through to the 11th of June into your sector of relating, and that does clash with this expansive energy at the end of this week, simply because when the solar eclipse occurs, it's really just minutes away from the sign of Taurus. So we think about this solar eclipse in terms of expansion and change. It's possibly going to feed its way into what you do for your work, or how you connect to the wider world, or how people see you in terms of your public role. But Pluto is in your sector of relationships. So the power dynamics in any relationship, whether it's with a line manager, your friends, people in your community, you're just becoming more conscious of who holds the power. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to withdraw from relationships where you may feel that someone hasn't always used their power quite as well as they could have done, but your observations are sharpening up at a rate of knots. But of course, later on Thursday, the sun punches into your sector of goals, ambitions, and also visibility, where you're wanting recognition. That's a very natural emotion for Leo people, because you do need to be respected at the very least. That's your bottom line. If people like you, you're chuffed. If they love you, well, you think, well, you should do. Now, come up now, you no longer need to kneel. And that, of course, is your regal bearing. But actually, over the last few years, you've given a lot of your aura into being much more self-sacrificing to others, which has probably been a very interesting journey and not an unfulfilling one. But because of all the excitement that this Aries fire energy has been creating, this solar eclipse right at the end of the 9th house suggests there may still be some things you can go for, but I think if changes are coming, it probably will be around your worldly role. And there's the thing, because Mercury on Friday then goes into that retrograde in this precise area, along of course with the rather restless vibe of Uranus and the mystical energies of the North Node. So whatever your role in life, I feel the next few weeks with Mercury in retrograde, you're going to be thinking very carefully about it. But it doesn't mean to say you haven't been thinking very carefully about it already. And I think you have been doing some daring tryouts, experiments, thoughts, having discussions over recent weeks. But now you're going to have to decide how these are going to work in the real world, which is the 10th house, because that's where we're tested by people in positions of authority. It's very much to do with the orthodox structures. So if there is something you develop that's interesting, fresh and exciting, you will have to persuade those people. And Mercury retrograde is obviously not necessarily going to make that easy. So your global role, your worldly role, your work role, your role as a parent, or potentially as an older family member, will also come under the spotlight. And with Mercury retrograde, those are the areas that need a great deal of care, but these are also the areas that you can refresh with new thinking and enterprise. And you've had so much enterprise around you of late, there's a lot of enterprise for you to invest in this area. Is there a niggle? I don't actually think it is Mercury so much. I think it's Mars. I think until Mars moves into your sign, it is evoking some very powerful ups and downs in your emotions. But do maintain your sense of self-confidence. It's what really makes you special, that aura, that absolute larger than life. Even if you don't always speak, people just feel it. And don't let Mars being in your 12th house erode that. Even if you are working through a few old deep issues, keep being very positive and on the front foot in terms of how people view you, because your profile can rise over the next few weeks despite this Mercury retrograde. It's been a pleasure being with you. Please like, comment or subscribe.